This session I'm actually very excited with. It's a friend of mine, Scott Brown, who has worked for MrBeast, has worked in traditional media, and is now building, we were calling them microdramas, but now we're just going to call them micromedia. I think that's what we learned today. And he's building a new creator-led studios for this new format and building the next generation of big studios that are very much creator-led. So vertical storytelling built for the way audiences watch today. And what more can I say about Scott? Well, he was at The Rock. He built their YouTube. He's at Larry King. And he's here. And we're going to talk about the rise of creator-led studios, what he's building, and how creators can think about doing the same thing with their content to take advantage of some of the new ways that people are consuming scripted and sort of unscripted, maybe even musicals. Scott, come on down. Let's talk about it. All right.
So that wonderful introduction, Jim.
So here we are. I'm not going to relax too much. Okay.
Okay.
Second Rodeo, the company you're building now, 20 million views in 24 hours at one point. So what are you doing? What are you making? And what does it look like?
So Second Rodeo is about servicing the intersection of legacy and digital media as they continue to become one. And now we're almost exclusively focused on really this proliferation of digitally native scripted formats that we're seeing. Obviously, Mike, 2 years ago, we identified the microdrama space as a big growth sector. And, now it's turned into, I think, really something really buzzy and the town's talking about a lot. And, when I first
By the way, by the town, you mean Hollywood?
Oh, yes, Hollywood. Sorry. That's me. I think what people are so excited about is not only the narrative content is working, but also, look, at the end of the day, last year, U.S. consumers spent $1.2 billion on what amounts to movies that have no really known actors in them and no really widely known IP inside of them. They really just want to find out what happens next to its lead characters in this digitally minded way. So what we're doing at Second Rodeo is we are very focused on the microdrama sector, but also other digitally native scripted formats that are evolving.
So let's talk about some of these evolving formats. I think they're fascinating. So 70 to 90 minute story, right? Told in 1 minute to 90-second chapters, watched vertically, and then people have to take action. They pay or whatever to move it. Talk about that format and contrast it to some of the other stuff that you've done.
Yeah. So, what is a movie, right? A movie is a collection of scenes that, when watched in their intended order, produce the sensation that we call plot that we often pay for, right? So take a 90-minute story and break it up into roughly 60 chapters. And those chapters are, I think of them really as scenes, but they have really strong cliffhangers. We're basically combining digital retention with feature storytelling, right? And by the time, especially in the first 20 episodes, it's really important to really grab the audience by the lapels and hold on to them and, keep them watching, because at around the 10th episode, so roughly the 12th minute of watching, you're hit with a paywall. And instead of having to pay for the entire show, it's a little bit like mobile gaming where you buy coins and you pay per episode, per scene to watch your movie. So, by the time you're done, though, the average person has paid about $15 to watch. I contextualize this inside of a larger scripted digital boom that's happening. We can see, obviously, Darman Studios and creators like Alan Chickenshaw are doing very well, but also formats like Brooklyn Coffee Shop. There's the character Chit on TikTok. You and I have been in the creator economy for a long time, well before it was called the creator economy. And besides a few outliers, scripted was never really this large part of it, right? But I think now, especially in the last few years, we're seeing a dramatic change towards new formats that are scripted.
Yeah, in the first 10 years of the creator economy, when I was building YouTube networks and other things, I was convinced scripted would never make it. And that was true for the first 15 years. But now we've gotten to the point where it's really happening, but in a very surprising way. I want to talk a little bit about the first 20 seconds now. So it's, again, there's cliffhangers and all that, but the first 20 seconds, how do you suck someone in the first 20 seconds where 10 minutes later, you're going to be asking them for money?
Right. I think that most great storytelling is fundamentally a series of questions and answers, right? So right out the get-go, we're trying to hit them with a really, really strong question, and a question that demands their time. And honestly, in the first 20 seconds especially, I think there's two questions we try to show them. a question that will be answered very quickly in the plot, and then a larger question that can only be answered by watching the whole story. It's really a resequencing of narrative structure. A movie often will tell you about the characters, it'll tell you about their before life, and only at around the 8 to 10 minute mark do you really get introduced to the plot, right? Those 8 to 10 minutes are really important, but what we do is we take those 8 to 10 minutes and we actually address them later on in the story. So in a way, the audience meets the plot before they meet the characters. And it's not that the characters aren't important. It's just a different way of doing things. You know, I come from a screenwriting background, and writing is really important to me. And, you know, one of the things that I try to share is, and we have these moments with our writers, is you can do all kinds of amazing artistic things in this medium. You just have to be open to doing them in a new and a different way.
Yeah, it's almost like every scene is one of my cards, and if I threw it up in the air and then we could pick them all up,
yeah,
that you could put them back together, and that might be a microdrama.
Yeah, I mean, it's a combination, because I do think that there is causality. Each scene does play upon the other. It would be hard to watch it totally out of order, but you still it's still good old fashioned storytelling. It's just done in a different way.
So for people who might have done traditional television, we've all probably watched traditional television. You know, half hour, 3 to 6 ad breaks. And, you know, you watch for 10 minutes, all of a sudden there's an ad break for 2 or 3, 4 minutes. And there's that cliffhanger that's like, okay, I'll stick around. I'm go get a pizza or something and come back,
Right.
Or something from, go to the bathroom. But that, 10 minutes of watching cliffhanger, which is sort of what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But then rather than another 10 minutes, you're doing it like right away.
Right.
How do you write for cliffhangers every 90 seconds or 3 minutes rather than every 10 minutes?
Well, I think that every good scene in its way, we don't call it a cliffhanger, but I think that I'm a writer, so I get into semantics. Yeah. Like it's, you need cliffhangers, but also rather than thinking of them as a cliffhanger, which is such a big moment, right? They can also just be about, I like to think of them as sharp, provoked moments of curiosity. How can we make the audience fundamentally just be like, well, what's going to happen next, right? That's what we're doing as storytellers. We're getting the audience to constantly ask what happens next. And then we pay that off and we give them something new. And it's really fun to get into the weeds with the writers when we really, and I'll say this too, when you get the first 20 episodes right, and every episode creates a novel, dramatic problem, and then you really work hard to make sure that you wrap up all of those threads by the end of your story, your third act inherently becomes really interesting, because there's and I think we really discovered this even more in Playback, our most recent series. The third act is full of satisfying payoff after satisfying payoff that only could really come from planting so many things along the way by necessity.
It's a really different way to think about the structure.
It is, but it's still, when we think about character, when we think about what drives these people, when we think about their internal wounds, it's still, I think of Joseph Campbell, The Hero's Journey. I think of all those things. It's just done in a new way.
So let's talk about the revenue side.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about how, over the course of asking for these mobile coins, in the end, you end up, if you go all the way through, about $15 to watch the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. What
percentage of people make it all the way through?
It's not clear always what the percentage is, but it's a double-digit percentage. And, what we've also found is that generally people who get to the midpoint, basically what happens is, if you don't know, most people find microdramas not by going to these apps, although that is quickly changing. They are in their social media feeds. They're watching TikTok. They're watching YouTube Shorts, right? And then they'll be served the first episode or two in their feed as an ad, but to them, it just looks like a story. And they get hooked into the story. They follow a link to either the app or a website, and they get those first 10 episodes for free. Now, there's a big cliff, obviously, when someone's getting something for free and then they're asked to pay for it. But because there's such a high price point when they get through, it ends up working out. But especially what's interesting is once you get past the midpoint, so basically the halfway point of your story, there's almost no drop off, which is really interesting as a storyteller, because then I can start to relax. I can start to let go of the need to constantly hit them with story points and start to lean more into those traditional things that I love.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And there are monetization models that don't involve actually asking for money.
Right.
And whether it's advertising or buy a product or do this and that. Talk about where we are in the development of those, and just your opinion on whether they're ever going to replace here are the coins and the game mechanics and put those coins in, and it's not Farmville, it's, some crazy microdrama.
Right. I mean, for me, the coinification is really a really cool, what a confident thing to say to your audience. Like, I think you're going to enjoy this story so much that I'm going to give you the first 10 minutes of the story for free, right? And then I think you're going to enjoy it so much that you don't have to pay the full amount to watch it. You can actually pay as you go. And I think you're going to really enjoy watching that. I think it also gives some choice to the audience. They can maybe go watch another series on the platform. But we just saw Issa Rae. She just came out with a show on TikTok. So I think that what's really interesting to me is going to be watching how TikTok and YouTube and the other social media platforms start to address the sector. But in the same way that it's not TV, it's HBO, right? That classic phrase, right? There's some things that you won't be able to do on these platforms because they have to serve advertisers and things like that. And I think the apps will inherently have a home because of that. It'll just be really, I keep saying this, but it's very early. I mean, we are at the beginning of what I really believe is a new medium, that mobile storytelling is a new medium, and it's just the first couple of years.
And then when people are watching, how do you get the sense of the way they interact with it? I mean, are they watching it all at once? Or will people watch a quarter of it, then come back, and then maybe watch another 50% of it and come back? Or is it really just a single continuous consumption from start to end?
Well, I think it's all sorts, the answer. Like, one of the really wonderful things about creating this space is that there's a really vibrant fandom, and some people binge these. They'll watch them over and over. Some people, you see in the comments a lot of the time, if you remember Quibi, it's really the promise of Quibi in a way. A lot of people in the comments of these apps will talk about, I really enjoy these stories. I can start watching while I'm making dinner for the kids, and all of a sudden the kids need me. And I know that every minute there's going to be a natural point where I can stop the story. I can go tend to what I need to do, and then I can come back and keep watching it. So it really is storytelling that is meant for the immediacy of what the phone promises, which is a quick connection to your life. Yep.
All right, let's talk about the studio you're building. You were at Larry King, The Rock's YouTube, MrBeast. Now you're building your own studio. As you started to build that studio, what did you decide to throw away to kind of build this to make it successful in today's world?
That's a really good question. I think that I'm constantly asking myself in the same way, to me, when we're making these stories, right, where in the same way that you can have a song in a major and a minor key, and there's different times for those keys of music in your life. There's a key of legacy media and there's a key of digital media. And throughout my career, I've really worked at the intersection of both those worlds. And what I'm always trying to ask myself is, what of my knowledge of legacy media and of the collaborators that we have, what of that knowledge and those experiences and that wisdom are we going to be able to transpose into this medium? How are we going to transpose it? But at the same time, what is not going to serve us? What do we have to let go of? And what I keep finding truly is that the things that it's been a really cool exercise in understanding why I wanted to become a filmmaker. Why do I love storytelling? And really getting down to the foundational things that I love about this thing that I do. And what I find is the things that I really love about this, continue to be what I practice.
Yeah. So talk about some of the lessons you learned from your time at MrBeast that are helping you out now. And I think it's interesting. Like, we had Tony on stage from Darman here yesterday, and she was at Beast Games running production there for that first run. You're an alumni of MrBeast. First of all, is there like a MrBeast university where a lot of people are going to start cycling out of MrBeast to go do other really cool, amazing things? Or is that like not happening yet?
I think that we're seeing that. The people that I worked with at my time there, they've gone on to, go to startups that are servicing really that intersection of the creator economy and what the larger traditional media landscape is continuing to evolve into, right? What did I learn at MrBeast? I mean, I learned a lot. I think the thing that I appreciated the most was that Jimmy Donaldson, MrBeast, he really was very strict about asking himself, why does the audience want to watch right now? I think most people in the creator economy, at some point, we have to answer to the algorithm, right? And the algorithm is a mathematical interpretation of attention. And so in it, there's a lot of hard truths and there's a lot of things that you can interpret. And I think, but at the same time, I really respected how much Jimmy and his team loved what they did. And the pursuit of making content that people wanted to watch was a passion. And that's a passion. It really energized me to think of YouTube I love YouTube, but it gave me a new perspective on how great it can be.
So when you started building Second Rodeo, your studio, was there anything that you brought from traditional production? You're like, I'm going to do this because we did it there and it really worked. And then like you're a little ways and you're like, that was really stupid.
That's a really good question. I think I mean, I've worked at the intersection of legacy and digital media, but I've never directed an episode of TV. I've never been a movie for a studio, right? I think that the main thing I had to let go of was this idea that if you elevated the quality, you would get a little bit more time in the beginning. And that's the one thing I learned on my first series is it really is about grabbing their attention and holding on. We had a very successful show, but had we really paid the attention to that first 5 episodes and really starting the story quickly, I think we would have seen even stronger results. And that's something that we applied to our musical that we just came out, Playback.
That's where we're going. That's where we're going. Well done. Yeah. So you've done a couple of these microdramas and put them out there. And it's not just about bodice ripping microdramas for 40-year-old women. Lots of different formats, we heard about this earlier today, are coming into this space.
Yeah.
And you have just taken the first musical and brought it into this space. And not only a musical featuring some of the YouTube stars and other people you might know. So do you want to talk about it and then watch a little clip, or do you want to watch the clip and then talk about it?
Let me say a few things about it. So, we work with a company called My Drama, which Fox Entertainment has made some investment in. And when we started our relationship with them, I was going around the larger entertainment industry saying there's a way that these can be elevated, but not to make Netflix in a vertical aspect ratio. And I'm not saying that would be easy. That's hard to make a Netflix show, but to truly make an elevated microdrama, right? And ask ourselves, how can we take what audiences love about these formats and just give them more of it while also transposing those things we love about traditional entertainment? One of those things, besides bringing elevated acting to them and trying to enhance the writing, was also to bring creators into it. So we have as our villain, Hannah Stocking, who's a Forbes Top 50 creator, wonderful in the series. We also have a cameo from Philip DeFranco, who I know you have some history with as well. Good history.
Oh yeah, I worked with Phil for a long time. He's great.
Phil's great. And also Samir Chaudhry of the podcast Colin and Samir. I really wanted to show, we realized early in the edit that the internet was a character as our 2 leads went on their journey through the music industry. And I wanted it to feel really, really authentic to the internet that you and I have been a part of. And making creators, Phil plays itself, and putting creators in the show in an organic way was really important. And I love musicals. And so we have 17 original songs. Most of them are roughly 45 seconds to a minute because of the length of the episodes. But at the very end, and actually you'll hear some of that music in the trailer, is a 2.5-minute showstopper at the end.
So, but the thing I'm most disappointed at, by the way, having worked with Phil DeFranco for a long time, is he didn't let Phil sing. Phil does not sing. So next time,
sorry to the fans.
Let Phil sing.
I'll give them people what they want.
Give them what they want. Let's watch a little of this and we'll talk a little bit more about it.
Sing. Sing like everything depends on this moment.
Something struck me once you came around, shook me up and down.
Luke, meet your new songwriter.
No!
Sound pretty good once we put some auto-tune on it.
Face will look pretty good once I throw it through the wall.
No one is calling me a one-hit wonder.
No one is calling you at all. I know your little secret.
You know what it's like to feel something real?
Are you sure that you have got this? I will literally tell everyone about your dirty little lies.
Everybody wants something from me!
What are you running from?
I won't waste this love.
I'm not running from anything!
I could never get enough.
Then prove it. Sing.
I'm gonna feel the fear. I'm gonna do it anyway. Though I'm alone right here. Your kind of love is worth the wait. Your kind of love is worth the wait.
So did you get it?
We got it.
So this debuted last week. You did round of applause. Pretty cool, right?
Thank you.
So you did a big Hollywood style premiere of it last week. You said you're still recovering.
Yeah.
But talk about that was like, I mean, this isn't like big screens, it's the silver screen. It's the small vertical screen. What was it like putting the premiere together? Who showed up? And just give us a little flavor of it.
Well, in the same, I mean, we worked really hard on this series, right? We really made it our main focus of our careers for a good 3 months. And I wanted the cast and the crew and everyone who was a part of it to just be able to have a communal experience of watching it together. It also served as a great opportunity to get people from the end. It's hard to get people to watch anything that's 100 minutes long, right? And it was an opportunity to get people together to look at it and experience it together. I mean, it was, you know, the experience of watching things in a communal setting is really special. And to hear the audience, and as a filmmaker and a storyteller, to hear people laugh at your jokes and, you know, be quiet in the right moments. And even in the final kiss at the very end, one man just yelled out his excitement at the moment. Like, it really was wonderful. And also, you know, it's in a way, it's a marketing tool, right? The cast posted photos from the premiere. And it was just it was something to celebrate everyone's hard work.
Did you, in the middle, pass a hat around and ask everybody that we need to raise $100 or we're not watching more?
Yeah, at the 10-minute mark, I just passed it around. Yeah, come on.
No, you didn't.
No.
So Hannah Stocking, 72 million followers. Samir, Phil DeFranco.
Yeah.
What did it give you to bring these big creators into this? And how do you think creators can play a part as this new medium grows?
Well, that's something that I'm genuinely really excited about, right? I think that, again, I've been in the creator economy my whole career, and I have a great affinity for creators, some of the hardest working people in showbiz. And, you know, it's changing, but I think still generally these social media platforms would like most creators to be in and out, right? In and out does one thing extraordinarily well, and it does it very reliably, right? And I think that especially the proliferation of not just scripted digital, but formats in general, is going to give creators more opportunities to express their talents. And so I'm very excited, especially building at Second Rodeo, at being able to create that common ground where all types of different creative people can come together to make content they're excited by that maybe circumvents the often very specific needs of the algorithm.
So you put Hannah Stocking in, and she's the villain.
Yes.
But the next one that you do, will you do another one with her? And if you do you think she'll be able to break out into another character? Or is she going to stay the villain now the rest of her sort of microdrama career?
Well, no. I mean, I think one of the things that I'm so grateful for is that, you know, I don't think if you knew that Hannah was a creator with a big following, I think you would just look at her and say, oh, that was like great casting. That was really fun, right? Hannah she's very funny. She's very talented. And what a pro to work with, by the way. Like, sometimes creators get like a bad rap. She was a gem to work with the entire time. And I think that we are just going to see the start of her expressing her multifaceted talents.
So let's broaden out to all creators or more creators. So first of all, how do you direct someone who's never been directed in a narrative before? I mean, was that hard? Was it good? I mean, and broaden that out and think about, is there an opportunity for creators who may have never done acting, been in narrative, to get involved in this space?
Well, Hannah's actually done some acting. She was in a Netflix show, and she's also a comedian. So by virtue of that, she's always assuming these situations in her content. Something that I'm always keen to ask anyone I work with is, what is going to be helpful to you as a director, right? One of the things that I learned, I used to think I was like a football coach, and to me, football coaches, they teach people to do a very specific thing. And what I've realized is, as a director, you're more of a basketball coach, where your job is really to, at the moment, give them the confidence to do their best work. And whatever way gets them there is really what I try to facilitate. I do a ton of prep. I believe that preparation leads to inspiration, but I just talk to them very candidly. I mean, anyone who assumes a role wants to do a great job, usually, I find. So I just want to be the best ally for them, and the rest tends to work itself out.
Is there a place for creators to start building this on their own? And what would you say? Is there a playbook developing for it? If you're a creator, should you just get started? Like, what's your advice for them?
I feel like creators already know that the best thing they can do is to just get started, right? And I think, I really believe, and I think we're seeing more and more signs of this, that because remember, I contextualized the microdrama boom inside of I wrote a piece for Tube Filter about the larger scripted digital boom that is happening. Because while microdramas are a major part of the iceberg that is currently sticking out of the water, there are dozens of channels who do scripted content, exclusively scripted content, who do 6-figure views on every single video that they do. And while we hear about the Darmans and the Alan Chicken Chows and the microdramas, and there are so many other things happening. And I think that the best thing to do is create and find your voice.
So why do you think that's happening now? I mean, I could make the argument in part that YouTube is on the TV screen and that
Right.
we're going to longer viewing and that lends itself to narratives and stories that unfold over 20 to 30 minutes. But there's a big difference between the big widescreen and that little screen in your pocket.
Yeah.
So, but it sounds like digital scripted is working on both of them.
It is.
So why? What's the thing that happened that it hasn't been working for 15 years? Why now?
I think that's that's like the question, I think, right? And exactly why now, I don't have the answer that I would even posit as the answer, but I think the things that you talked about are really important. I think longer run times are a massive part of that. Like, Kanigra Dion, for example, doing movies on her channel that are getting millions of views. Like, that's incredible. I think in general, it's also the audience though, right? Like the place that in the zeitgeist, the place that digital content is continuing to evolve, that's maturing, and the people creating the content and watching the content are maturing, and as that audience broadens, their tastes are going to broaden, and we're just finding more and more that, and I think scripted is a result of that.
Yeah. I'm going to open it up to you guys for questions, so I'm going to come out there with a microphone. Hopefully you'll have some good questions for Scott. The last question I have for you, well, I'll have more depending on where we are with questions, but do you think this narrative thing is durable, or is it just a short-term blip? What do you think? What's going to happen here as I get my mic and go out in the audience? You're going to answer that.
The first thing that I always say is that I wear rose-colored glasses for this moment because I have wanted scripted to be a part of digital my entire career. And now that it is, I have a bit of a bias to believe that it's going to be here forever. But as much as I can be sure of something that is about the future, I really believe that it is here to stay. It will evolve and change. But when I do these panels, I really try to share, I feel more optimistic and excited about my career than I ever have. And in the last 12 months, I basically made 2 movies. I told 2 90+ length stories that I'm dearly proud of. And I'm watching more and more people join that and be able to say that. And the fact that that's happening in digital, I'm optimistic. So I think it's going to stay.
Awesome. We have a question right here.
Yeah, thank you so much. First off, yeah, I've seen some of the microdrama stuff. Like, oh my gosh, rich heiress, and no one knows who it is, and then all of a sudden it's just the guy's daughter. Anyway, but yeah, I've seen this stuff a million times before. But as far as I would ask for, practically speaking, when it comes to, because you said you've done 2 90-minute pretty much feature films.
Yeah.
I'm not really in the vertical microdrama space, but realistically, in terms of budgeting, what are the ways that you raised the money, you got the money for it, you contacted the creators for the budgets and all those different things?
Well, I would say also, Scott, talk about how much it costs to produce versus a movie too. Yeah, I think those are all really good questions.
So the budgets for microdramas, and ours is no exception, will run about $150,000 to $200,000 right now. But what's really interesting is I'm taking meetings and we're hearing more talk about budgets that are starting to float towards 350. I'm even hearing 500. I heard 800,000 from 100 person. I think, and you'll hear me say this so much, is like, it's early, right? So in the same way that it's early and it's not clear what the right risks to take are and what the right safe bets are to take, I think we'll see budgets stay low for now, but people, as things start to work, they're going to take bigger swings. Both of these series that I made were financed by the app MyDrama, which is owned by a company called Holy Water Tech that Fox recently made an investment in. And, I got to hand it to them. They really wanted to encourage risk taking. They said, Scott, we're going to give you our teams. We want you to listen to our teams. But truly, if you and the team disagree about something, we'll let you do it your way. And all credit to Anatoly and Bogdan, their CEOs. Every time that happened, and it wasn't often, they let me do it my way. And I think really this show is born of a collaboration between MyDrama and our show. But I'll say this is like, just go out and make it, right? And talk to these apps. They're looking for people who are ready to play ball and make stuff.
Cool. Question right here.
Have you experimented with nonlinear stories?
Not yet, but I want to. Yes.
Because the format is perfect. So the audience can choose one way or the other.
Oh, so you're saying like choose your own adventure?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I would check out Real Short. They've done some choose your own adventure. They're one of the major apps. And a few other apps have also tried that. I mean, it's like, and I try to share this enthusiasm as much as I can. We're just getting started. I mean, you look at the history of film and Charlie Chaplin and the Keystone days, like compared to when he was making The Great Dictator, like that's how fast a medium can evolve. And so we're going to see a lot of experimentation. I think that's really smart too.
Question over here.
As brands are trying to become more studios, do you see a lot of brands coming to you like, hey, I want you to produce my own series?
Yes, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Like, there's also some shows that have come out. One of them made by Procter & Gamble called The Golden Paraffaire. Crocs did a microdrama series. Brands are seeing that. I mean, this is a real phenomenon, right? And the views are real too. And these brands are really good at getting certain cohorts. So I think brands smart. There's actually a couple brand placements in this show as well. Playback, Change Engineering, the synth company, actually sponsored us as well. But the answer is yes. And we're seeing a lot of great interest from brands. And I think it makes a lot of sense.
Okay, question here.
Two quick questions. The first one, are you shooting vertically, like native vertically, and you're editing vertically, or are you also shooting horizontally and then editing two different, like long episodes and only?
So my first one I shot vertically native with the camera's 90 degrees because I really wanted to be forced to explore the vertical aspect ratio. On this one, we worked with Blackmagic camera systems and shot full frame. Not because we wanted to exhibit horizontally, although I think that's a great idea, but because the latitude it gives you in post while you're editing, if you need to reframe a shot, or if you're rushed, you can shoot a 2-shot and turn them into 2 singles later. So,
that's a great idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Right. So, like, it's those innovative approach. Look, the more pixels you have, the more options you have.
Right. Okay, and the second question is with Quibi. You mentioned them, right?
Yeah.
And so we were all locked in during COVID, and we all had Quibi. They launched Quibi, and it was supposed to be this huge thing, and then it ended up flopping, right? And that sounds probably discouraging. But how are you guys guarding against them? What are you doing differently to not fall into that same sort of trap?
I mean, there's 2 quick answers to that. The first is that there was not this audience behavior. TikTok was brand new in America. YouTube Shorts had not launched in America yet. Like, the audience behavior, they were trying to train an audience behavior that didn't quite exist yet, right? That was the part one. And the part 2 is I made a show for Quibi, and there were a lot of really smart people there, but there was no one from the trenches of the creator economy at the executive level, at least that I worked with. And I think this era is different because there are people who are used to listening to the algorithm who are driving this. And that's an important thing too. Yeah.
Thanks. My question is already kind of sort of been answered, but to go along with it with the vertical shooting format, I think back to when BMW and Guy Ritchie were doing the short film like that, and it was not the vertical format. So is the vertical format because a lot of us are now doing this, and they've gotten so much better on the screens, and that's why we are now watching drama.
Actually, let me finish with that. So I really believe. So think of when every medium entered our lives lately, right? When film entered our lives, when the television entered our lives, it was first as a means of entertainment, right? An exhibition format of content. But this thing entered our lives first as a communication device. And now that, shooting ratios and compression and streaming has gotten better, now we can start to watch content on it. So it's kind of an odd way for a new medium to enter our lives. But truly, I believe that mobile storytelling and entertainment is a new medium. And the more you contextualize it within that idea, that it's a new medium and it's just finding this narrative voice, cinematic values, the more exciting it gets for me.
Yeah, I wrote about new mediums in my newsletter today, Inside the Creator Economy. So check that out. Scott, thank you so much.